Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living the Dream with Curveball. I'm your host, Curveball, and on today's show, we are going to be talking about all things healthcare because I am joined by Maureen Healy. She is a nurse practitioner, the CEO of Virtual Healing Inc., as well as an author. So we're going to be talking to her about all that she does. Maureen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis, for having me here. I appreciate it.
Well, let's start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself, kind of giving a background, maybe where you're from and, anything else you might want the audience to know before we get rolling.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm a Floridian from way back from the beginning. My father was the first physician in North Miami Beach in 1953. My mom was a nurse. Her sisters were nurses. His sister was a nurse. So the path of nursing was set out for me, and I took it. So I was a nurse's aide at 16 and became a registered nurse in my early 20s and worked the next 25 years in hospitals. Working the first 10 years was in intensive care units, and then went to the emergency room and spent the rest of the years in the emergency room. But I also floated to other areas like radiology and cardiology, wherever they needed me. Picked up a shift here and there as the years went by.
So to be clear, you're a nurse practitioner.
I am now. Yes, sir. I went back and became a nurse practitioner in 2014.
And that's just below the physician.
Yes, that's correct.
Absolutely. So what made you, I guess it just ran in your family to want to be in the medical
the nursing
field, right?
part of it did. I think to go on 25 years after graduating the first time was quite a challenge. I just felt the need I was into education. I was always educating the patients, the families, the student nurses and medical students that came through. I took enjoyment in teaching them how to do the process of nursing, basic nursing skills. And so I thought it was a natural unfolding of my career to go back. And I just thought it was going to be in education. But as when I was in the program, I just took a couple extra classes and ended up becoming a nurse practitioner where I could do education and work clinical. So it opened up more doors actually for me.
So talk about your overall experience in your career in nursing. How do you feel that the healthcare industry is changed for the patients, good or bad?
Well, I hope it's good. Definitely. Over the years, I've watched the unfolding of the technology with trying to prevent errors, med errors, any kind of mistake, and that happens. That there are a lot of errors that can happen in the hospitals daily. Actually, they're still happening, and I noticed it early on, and they kept as the technology was coming out, the hospitals would, of course, try to use and implement any of the equipment that they could to prevent mistakes. But I always noticed it was really human error. And it just seemed natural for me to get the patients' families to become more aware of what's going on for their loved ones. And I had plenty of families tell me they would do more if they knew what to do. And so that kind of stuck in the back of my head, and which was pretty much the birth of the book that I wrote, Your Guide to Safe and Swift Hospital Stay. But it was to educate, and it's just a matter of the extra eyes and ears of the families, because we come in and we have our protocol to go through the patients. It's called the 5 rights. When you walk into a patient's room, you confirm you have the right patient, the right drug, the right dose, the right route, the right allergies and and so you just when patients don't feel well, they could be out of it, and the families just can step up and catch an allergy. It's like, wait a minute, that what did you say? And that would divert an error right there just by listening. And so I'm a strong advocate and encouraging that active involvement of that, because it's just we're as from the nursing side of it, we're so busy. And I although I haven't worked in the hospitals since 13, but I mean, it was busy then. It's even busier now, and how much more critical it is to be aware and to be an active participant in your loved one's care. And it's never, obviously it's never intentional. You just go into the wrong room or you grab the wrong chart, and it's not just nursing. It can be the X-ray tech people coming in and grabbing the person and if they don't go through their protocol, then that's basically an error. And lab, and it could be anybody. It could be even dietary, bringing in the wrong tray of food for like a diabetic would need certain foods. And so it's just busy. And so all the help you can get, all the help your loved one can get is going to be to their benefit.
So let's say I'm a family member and I pick up your book. Just kind of explain the things that I'm going to find and how they're going to help me as a family member with a loved one in the
Right. So
hospital.
I used the pain-free acronym. So you would remember and try to go back and forth, because it's not just one step. It's always from day to day, it's back and forth. You got to think about, you got to think about all the different steps. So I pain-free. So P is patient advocate. And that's again, listening when anybody walks into that patient's room, just stop what you're doing and listen and just kind of follow. And you have to you learn what's going on as you're there. A is to ambulate, and that's walking, just to get them up, even if especially it's usually baby steps, just to get them up and get them walking. And if they can't walk yet, just turning them from side to side. I is an infection, and that's good hand washing. We're all much more aware of that now with COVID. N is nutrition. There are certain foods that's going to expedite healing over other foods. Faith or F is for faith. And I like to encourage people to tap into whatever spiritual system that they believe in, to tap into that source of energy and support, because it helps you. It helps you heal. There's all kinds of data that backs the spiritual side. The F, that's F. R is remember to follow up, because all that blood work and all those tests that were done yesterday or the day before, you want to say, hey, whatever happened with that X-ray? What did it show? Or a CAT scan or whatever? Just because, again, the nurses are coming in, and it is the job of the nurse to do all the education and to follow up with all of those test results. It's one of the many tasks that we're doing outside the patient's room, is making sure that those orders got fulfilled, everything that the doctor had ordered, and then to follow up and make sure there's no abnormalities. And if there are, make sure that the doctor knows about it. So that RN is spinning around and making sure of all that. And they may forget to go in there and explain what happened or what those results actually showed. So you got to ask. E is eliminate. You got to make sure the plumbing's working. And then the last E is for exercise and all the extra little tips that help move the body. Like if a person had a stroke, you want to encourage movement. You want to encourage everyone to move, even if it's from side to side. It prevents pneumonia, it prevents infection and such.
So this is just a side question.
Uh-huh.
What are you seeing in where you're working at down there in Florida, dealing with the COVID? I know there's different things or different stories that come out in the media, different places. What are you experiencing in your work if you are working with any COVID patients right now. What are you
Well,
experiencing?
I am working as a nurse practitioner in the clinic on the weekends, and we're seeing it. We're not really seeing much because they're getting, if they're coming in for testing, they're actually not coming into our facility. They have it set up. My company has it set up where they are outside getting tested, and then it's one of my jobs to follow up with those results and to direct them based on what their symptoms are, and just help them take care of themselves. Majority of the patients will recover, and their symptoms can be mild to moderate, and just to make sure that they're taking the right medicine and getting the rest and following CDC's guidelines to stay self quarantine, which is crucial. So they're not out there, spreading it. And of course, if their symptoms are, are worsening, then you need to make sure they know to go to the emergency room. Because a lot of people don't even want to go to the hospital, no matter how bad they are. I've seen patients, and I'm like, "What are you doing here? You need to be, you got to call 911, get them over there as quickly as possible." So it's scary. It's still scary. Hopefully, I'm already encouraging everybody I come in contact to get the vaccine. I think it's the only way, as a whole nation and world, that we're going to be able to nip this, bring this coronavirus to down, dead, kill it off, get rid of it.
In your years of working, I know you talked about medical errors and human error. What is the worst, if you can talk about it? Because I know you guys have, stuff you can and can't talk about. What's the worst medical error that you've seen happen in your years of
Huh.
work?
The worst one. Well, actually, it's probably the first one that I read about, and that's what caught me within the first few weeks of nursing. I actually brought it up in the book. In the first few weeks of being a brand new registered nurse, I actually, the nursing manager had taped this article on the cabinet door that we all could see, and in the nurses station in the med room, and it talked about how a basic, simple, common potassium medication, which wouldn't hurt majority of us, actually killed a patient. And I didn't know her. I didn't know the situation, but it was the wrong drug was given to the wrong patient, or the right drug was given to the wrong patient, and because that patient was a end stage renal patient where the kidneys were already shutting down, that the extra potassium killed her. And that started, it was the most eye awakening moment for me, realizing, especially being so young and new into that level of responsibility of nursing, and it's like you gotta, it hit home for me. It's like I'm gonna take the extra time and do what's right. Take, go through those protocols, go through those steps, and make sure that I'm in the right room with the right patient. And I've done it. I've gone into the wrong room, absolutely. But because I do the same, go through the same steps. It's like getting in your car, and when you start the car up, you put on your seatbelt, and that's the same steps you go through to protect yourself. And that's what I do. And it has saved me over and over and over again. Because again, you're running, especially like even in the intensive care unit. I was going to say the emergency room, but you're running. I ran a lot. You just go from one job to the next job to the next job, and you do that all day long for 12 hours. And so it's again human error. That was the most, that's the one that affected me most, at least.
Well, let's flip over and talk about Virtual Healing Inc. What actually made you want to start this company? Tell us all about your company and all the things that your company does for patients.
Okay, I was at a crossroads in my life about 3 years ago. I had, you know, marriage was over, kid was grown, and I had my mom, and she died, and so I wasn't quite ready for retirement, and I just decided to. It was either keep working or keep just going to the clinic and working and playing more golf, or actually challenge myself. So I chose the challenging part of my life, and it is virtual healing is an online and phone-based service to help patients, and I'm actually directing it towards seniors. So just to back up, I was actually working this back in uh, late 2018, 2019, and I was going all over the place and locally where I live, and everyone brushed me off. They didn't know telehealth. They certainly weren't interested in that alternative mode of communication, and and then with COVID, obviously everybody realized telehealth. But I had to spend the first 6 months finding my new niche because I can't compete with hospitals and the giant healthcare organizations. So I finally found it a few months ago, and it's addressing seniors. So when our elderly go into the hospital and they have, whether it's trauma or surgery, they when they leave there, they automatically get sent over to a rehab facility or a skilled nursing facility where it takes a few extra weeks or months to get them stronger to go back home to live independently. And I, what my service provides is I can get them home. If they want to go home, I get them home, and I manage all aspects of their care. And I work with the other team members, healthcare team members like home health. I communicate with the physicians and the pharmacists and do medication review and reconciliation. I follow up on all their test results. I make sure their caregivers that are in the home to help that actually, usually they all need caregivers, somebody to be there on a 24-hour basis, at least at this period of time. And I make sure they know what they're doing. There's safety issues, there's medication issues, and there's a dietary issue. So I address the whole person, and it kind of goes along with the pain free. I think about the activity. Are they sitting around just watching TV, or are they participating and trying to move and get up and get going as much as possible, eating making better dietary choices, and spiritual. If they like church, let's get them to church. And so I think about all of those, and to help them achieve their optimal level of living, whatever that is. I just work with them and the families, and mediate between the families and the kids, and all the different communications. Got to keep all lines open. So it's fun. I treat minor illnesses if they have an infection, bladder infection or something. I treat that. I prevent infections, and prevent falls. So
Yeah, I know what you're saying about the telehealth because when it first started coming out, a lot of people were like, "That's no way that's possible." Until the virus, now a lot of people are doing it.
right.
Is your company just confined to Florida, or is it
It
nationwide? Because I see on the website where you can book an appointment, but is it
Right. So
nationwide?
it's Florida right now, but it is coming nationwide. And I'm just working out with the legal aspect of the licensing, just kind of waiting for the licensing because of COVID, everything has been in transition and Medicare's has lifted up the laws are being adjusted to allow telehealth um, go across the country. And again, hospitals have a different poll than I have. So I'm still working with them and trying to get it where my license here in Florida, I can write prescribe. I can help anybody at anywhere. It's just a matter of if I need to write a prescription, that's where it becomes an issue. So I'm in the midst of it's gonna get taken where I can get cleared up where I can work nationwide. Absolutely. I'm in the next few months. I expect it. So,
Does your company take all insurance, or what
un-
insurances do you guys take?
unfortunately, not. We are private pay. Medicare is paying for home health to go out there, and so we're not. That's they're hopefully down the road. I mean that I've prevented med errors actually on the first 5 or 6 patients that I had right off the bat. And again, I'm working with home health. So they kind of have the same problem that we had in the hospitals. They're limited to how much time they have with the patient. And so they go through their checklist, and I respect it. I'm right with them. I mean, I've done the work. I know it. And then, but you have to move on. Whereas I'm coming in and I don't have to move on. I'm not on a time basis here. I'm going to think about, I have the time to think about it, and the motivation, and to become more connected with the patient and the families and the caregivers. And again, that it's the caregivers, if they're being hired in there and they don't have any previous nursing experience, then there's a lot more teaching that and teaching so there are no drug errors and falls. You may not think about it, but I mean, an 80-year-old, 90-year-olds, it doesn't take much for them to fall. So it's all about preventing that fall. So, so it's a team. I'm a team player with them.
Absolutely. Does your company or you have any upcoming projects, like any more books, any courses, anything like
I
that?
want to, the next book is still in my brain stage. It's a patient advocacy. I want to continue that, because that it's just so important that somebody, it doesn't have, I mean, any family, anybody that cares about the person, you just want to step up and let it be known, and just try to learn to help your loved one go through the process and learn the medications, because it just doesn't take much. And so many drugs have very similar names, and it's not just about giving it at pharmacy. You can pick up, pharmacies are overworked. I mean, they're working busy. They're busy like everybody else. And so errors can happen there, and then they go home, and then they notice that the pill looks different, but it could be a different manufacturing company, and they disregard it. And so it's simple. It's just multiple areas of how advocacy prevents, basically it enhances the health of the patient. And so I like that. I want to expand on that thought with the next one. But right now, really my job is to get the get virtual healing available for as many people as I can, and to help as many people that are out there. And if I can get them home sooner with COVID, that's good. And then also with the book, I'm not really marketing the book. I just pretty much give the book away, and the hospitals, the families can't, if they're in the hospital, because I know the hospitals vary from state to state, what the families, if they can come in and how long they can stay and such. But that it really hurts the patient, because that power of touch, when you touch your loved one when they're in that bed, it just helps them. It helps them in so many ways, and they're missing out on that. So I'd like to be able to get as much help with the book, and following it, and helping out, and watching and listening, and thinking about all these things. Then you can get them home sooner, and then the healing process can really take over. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's amazing.
Are there any topics that we have not touched on that you would like to touch on? Do you have any final advice for the listeners, and if they have anybody in the hospital?
To put your phone down. That's key. If you're in the hospital and your loved one's in the hospital, and the moment anybody walks into their room, you just want to put your phone down. And it's because they're only going to be in there for a minute or two. It seems that way. It might be 10 minutes, but it's quick. They're in and out. And if you're finishing that text or you're on that phone, you're not listening. You can't do both. And you miss out on that. And that hurts. And I know, from a nurse, I would come in and I always explain what I was doing, what drug I'm giving, why I'm giving it. And if you're on the phone, then I'm just talking to the patient and telling the patient that, but there again, most patients are not in a state of mind to follow what's being done. They're more just grateful that you're in there doing, giving them some medicine so they feel better. So yeah, it's crucial. It's really important um, just to put it down and listen. Look and listen and feel and let us know. Because yeah, when you see
Absolutely.
something wrong,
Go ahead
I've heard it
and
over the years. The parents will see, they or families see something wrong. They know they're not acting right. The patient's not acting right, and if they don't jump on that, then it's usually a poor outcome. And so,
absolutely.
yeah,
Why don't you go ahead and tell people how to look you up and give out your contact information, your social media information so listeners can connect with
absolutely.
you?
Thank you. So yes, virtualhealing.com. Again, virtualhealing.com. And there's that's my website, and all the contact information is in there. You can get my book, Your Guide to a Safe and Swift Hospital Stay, is on Amazon. And my phone number is 727-729-2099, or just email me at Maureen@virtualhealing.com, and I'd be happy to help you out any way that I can. Absolutely. Send me an email. And if you send me an email and tell me you heard this, then I'll send you a book. Give me your address. I'll mail it to you.
Well, what I was gonna ask is, do you have any kind of email list that way you can update people? Hey, we were doing private pay at first. Now we can take these insurances, or hey, we're officially nationwide. Just kind of updates on your company.
I don't have that yet, Curtis, but that's a work in process. That email list is coming. It's just not there today, but it's coming. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're right.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, Maureen Healy. Maureen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, and everybody stay safe and healthy.
Absolutely.
All right.
And listeners, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review after listening. For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.